Hello there, my crafty friends. It's Ashley Pfeiffer, the maker behind Stamped AF. This month for Stamping Society, we are featuring Valentine's Day projects. Not specific products, but a specific theme. And I created this cute little cinnamon heart holder. It's got a little bag in there. I'll show you how to do this from start to finish. I did use a little Velcro dot that I found at either the Dollar Tree or Dollarama. I can't remember where. It seemed to be the easiest way to close this. So let's get to it. I am using this circle celebration. We're going to do the fun kiss technique. So if you can see that little heart and that little heart, and if you wanted to make it more obvious that it's a heart, you could stamp it with like a flirty flamingo or stamped off real red. Just something to make that one look more like a heart. I found that these two were the best ones to use for this technique. This one was just a little bit too small. These ones were too detailed. That one, there wasn't enough to fill it in. And this one, it just, yeah, it didn't work. And then for the hearts, we are using, oops, wrong stamp set. That's for my tutorial. So for the hearts, we are using these 3 little hearts. We just need real red ink, need a couple of dies. I've got this from the Stitched Rectangles, and that gives us our little window. I've got this little tag from the Ornate Frames, which gives us our little tag, which is entirely optional. I really struggled with how to put it on there, and ultimately just went with a dimensional. And then we just need a little bit of cardstock. So this piece is 4.5 by 6. We're scoring it at 4, 3, 2, 1.5. Or if you start at the half, then basically you need a 1-inch score mark and then a 1/2-inch score mark, and scored 1 inch at the bottom. And then I've got a scrap of Whisper White for my tag. I've got this little piece for my like the tabbed lid, whatever it is, and then a piece of vellum for our window. So I also have one of these clear cellophane bags, and Stampin' Up! Used to carry these. They don't anymore, but if you have some, that's perfect. I got mine from Michael's in the baking section, and we're just going to add some cinnamon hearts, because what says Valentine's Day more than cinnamon hearts? So we ripped into this like an animal. So just fill it. We're not using the whole bag. Fill it about maybe, well, we'll eyeball it. This is half the bag probably left in here. So that is plenty. And these I just got from Shoppers. And then, oh, it smells good. We are going to use some twine. If you want to keep it simple, you see that I have some black and white twine for the tag, entirely optional, but there's a hole in it, so you need something. So you could use this twine for both, but I actually used, it's part of the same set anyways. I used a little bit of the real red trim on there. I'm going to skip it this time because you don't even see it. Until the person opens this and takes it out, you don't see the trim. But I mean, how cute is that? So let's just use this because it's out, and we'll use the same ribbon for both. And to be honest, it was kind of a pain to tie a bow using that ribbon. But you do want to tie a bow. You don't want your recipient to need a pair of scissors to get in there. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. All the fancy's on the outside. Like, mine aren't even going the same direction, and it's okay. Cut a little bit off. And then, once it's tied and the ribbon is all set, just trim off some of that. Now, I think they might have been, the bag might have been a little bit longer. We'll see if this squeezes in there. If not, then they may need to be spread out a little more, which is what I did with this one. But there's also, I think there's more in there. I also kind of folded the extra part of the bag back so that it looks like it fits. And I think this treat is more about the packaging than what's inside. I mean, I might eat a cinnamon heart or two at that time of the year, but not my favorite. There we go. And you could probably barely see it, but there is a heart stamped on there. So I think we'll do something different with that this time. But we shall see. Okay, so before I do anything else, I don't want to fold, burnish, anything. I want to do my stamping. So I'm going to mount this larger stamp, which is stuck in there. And that is the only one that I used for the kiss technique. For this little heart and the outline, I just straight stamped them. Those two seem to be inseparable. And then I also used the For You. I was trying to keep it so it was just this one set. So we'll mount these all on A blocks. Now, the only unfortunate part is that we're using Real Red, which is a high staining color. So be prepared for your stamps to look like that when you're done. These actually don't look too bad. So I think we'll use a B for this one, and let's use a D for this one. So if you've never done the kiss technique, it is so much fun. So what we are going to do is we're going to stamp this whole thing in our Real Red. And then we're going to put our stamp on there and stamp it on here. Now you are going to want to clean it each time because you don't want that same pattern. But if I huff on this and go to a different area, I can get more than one ink. Look, now we've done two. But it is essential that you clean it between. I don't know that we could get a third, but I mean, we can just ink it up again. I don't want to have too many of this one heart. Now let's go for an area with a different pattern. And basically, I'm just putting one on each section. So that is enough of this one. And if you were lucky enough to get one of the stamp cleaning pads from the clearance rack, or you still have the ones from when they were current, about a year ago, maybe a year or more, this is great for getting the staining out. I think they're still in the clearance rack, but don't quote me. But stained stamps drive me crazy. Okay, so that's it for that one. Clean that off one more time. I stocked up on these when they were in the clearance rack. Okay, so now we're going to do this little one. And I love this one. This one's cute, but this one is fabulous. And I'm not sure that you can see it, but once it goes on, it's just so much fun. So you do need to ink this up each time. And I like to get that kind of starburst thing in the center. Kind of reminds me of string art. There we go. That one was still a little bit wet from the cleaning process. So that should be enough with the kiss technique. Now we'll just do our straight stamping with this full heart and then the two smaller ones. Okay, and then the final step before we start die cutting is taking our Real Red Stampin' Write marker, and just to add a little bit more Real Red and maybe cover up some of the excess Whisper White, is to just spritz. And the harder you push, the more splatter you get. It'll be more intense. It can be very easy to overdo it though. Know when to stop. Okay, so let's let that sit for a minute. We actually need this little heart and our tag, but I want to I want to die cut this first and then stamp on it. Usually I would do it the other way around, but I want to know what space I have to work with here. So I'm going to grab the For You sentiment, and we need some black ink. So we'll use some Memento. Okay, so there's our tag. Let's stamp For You. I like to start with the words first, and I'll let that sit for a couple of minutes before I do the heart. So both projects right now are waiting to dry. The real red out of the way, I'm going to tape down my rectangle just so that it doesn't move on me. And I'm centering it. I don't know if you can see this because I haven't scored or burnished, but I want to center it between those two areas, maybe a little bit closer to the bottom, because the lid could cover some of it if the lid is longer than mine. So I'm just using a little bit of purple tape here. Oh, it won't fit in this one. It's a little too wide for that one. Okay, so the rectangle is cut out. Just peel very carefully. You don't want to rip that after all the work that we've done getting it to that point. And now we're just going to glue this vellum on the inside. We don't have a lot of space to work with. So this is about 3 1/4 inches by 7/8 of an inch, because we know our panels are only an inch wide. And I don't want it going on to the next panel. So 7/8 by 3 1/4. The height doesn't matter so much, but the width, you don't want any wider than 7/8. You don't want it too small either. Otherwise, I mean, these won't fall out, but if you had something that wasn't in a bag, it would. Okay, so just give that a little push. If there's any adhesive that comes out, just wipe that off. You don't want the bag getting stuck to the glue on the inside. Be like an April Fool's and Valentine's Day gift all in one. So now we can notch our edges here. So instead of cutting up the center, I'm just going to notch it a bit on both sides. Save myself that center cut because I don't need it. As long as I miter the same on both sides, or close, it doesn't really matter. But it's just an extra step to cut that piece up the center, since we're mitering it all anyways. And then on this last one, we're going to cut that tab right off. Fingers crossed that our hearts fit in here. Okay, so now we can just fold and burnish. And the easiest way to ensure that this is square is just to fold it down and glue those two together. You can use tear and tape, you can use Stampin' Seal Plus. I'm going to go with my old reliable, my ride or die liquid adhesive. While I'm holding that, I can stamp my little heart, and I want it right in the middle of the For and the U. So that is easy enough to do, not with a camera right in the way, but just like that. And now this is the front. So I don't want any of my tabs coming to the front. I want to fold that down. Actually, let's start with the sides. And then I want that one down and this one back, so that the back is the side that has the extra tabs. So we can just put a little bit of glue, hold that down, put some on both sides. And now, doesn't really matter what the bottom looks like. Now we can put it down and just use our take your pick tool or something long and just give that a good press to make sure that it's made good contact. There we go. And then all we're going to do is give this a little pinch. Now the one thing I didn't like was I wish that I could have controlled where it stopped. Like this one, I like how it's so high. This one goes quite a bit lower. But short of adding in score lines, which was more work than I was willing to put into this, you're kind of stuck with where it goes. Okay, so now let's squeeze these bad boys in. I really do think this bag is too full. Or too short to be this full. £10 package in a 5-pound bag. Okay, so let's split them. And since I didn't knot that, I can reuse it. I'm going to put this ink away before I put my fingers in it. And now let's just dump these into here. Okay, and then we're going to do our little fold, and luckily it's kind of going at the same place this time. So now what we're going to do is figure out where we want this, and I am going to glue it because I find that that's what stays the best, but I also did a little bit of scoring on this just so that it wasn't trying to pop open. So at about this mark, I'm just going to put a little nail mark in there. I want to give it a little bit of a score, and then about 1/3 of an inch over, I'm going to give it another score. Of course, I can't see where I pinched that, but let's go with 3/4 of an inch. We'll give it a score. And then let's go, we'll just go to 1 inch. So we'll have a 1/4 inch there. So we've got our little score lines. And now I want to do a tag on this. So I'm going to use one of the Pick-a-Punch punches. And I'm just going to pop that in there. I want it to be centered. And my piece of cardstock is just shy of an inch. If you've been watching any of my videos, you know that this has to be either just shy of the 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, or 1 inch mark in order for it to fit. So this is still pretty long, so that might be okay. Like I said, I don't want it covering up my window. I think we'll do one more. I have to say that of these two, I definitely prefer this one. I think this one's a little too ornate for my taste. And if it doesn't get perfectly centered, just come in with your scissors and round that one a little bit. But I don't think the recipient's going to be like, oh my gosh, it's not perfectly even. I'm telling you, that'd be the last gift they get from me. Okay, so let's put this in. Kind of ensure that it's going to be a little more centered. You do have a little bit of wiggle room. And that should be the perfect length. It is more centered this time. Still have a funny little thing there, so you can buff it off, you can cut it off. There we go. Now, I'm thinking I want to do something a little bit different because, like I said, you couldn't even see the heart on the last one. So I am thinking it might be nice to emboss this. Now, that being said, it would be tricky to get our Velcro to stick. So maybe we'll use the outline, bring in the grid paper again, and let's use cherry cobbler so that it stands out a little more. I was going for a real red tone on tone, but it just was not showing up. There we go. Do I want to do one more? Let's do one on the back. Because we've got the space, we might as well. And because I had already inked it up. Now what we could do is fill these in with this. Is it that size? Let's say it's the smaller one, but I don't think so. So let's fill that one in with the real red. And this step is totally optional, of course. Ooh, don't like it. Good thing it was on the back. I don't want to color it with blends because it will go through and I don't want that. So let's glue this. Like I said, you can use tear and tape, but go with my ride or die. try and get it so that the score line is just at the top there. Hold it for a few seconds, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to get out my Velcro dots. I mentioned at the beginning that I got these at Dollar Tree or Dollarama. I honestly can't remember which one. You could also use a magnet, but I want to use my little Velcro, and they're kind of together. Like those ones you need to pull apart. So what you want to do is adhere your two pieces that you need. And then all we're going to do is, I want the soft part on here, but I need to know that this is in the right place. So I'm going to place it on there. Make sure this piece is on there just so. And then we're going to close it. And then it ends up in exactly the spot that we need it in. There's no guesswork. There's no, the Velcro is clinging to like half of the other piece. You know that it's perfect placement. Not sure I love that, but c'est la vie. If you don't play, you don't learn, right? It's paper crafting. It doesn't need to be so serious. Okay, now if it's all bulky like this, I feel like this was before COVID, after COVID. Now we just need another little loop of our twine. And can I just tell you, the new January to June mini catalog has baker's twine. Halla freaking Luya. I have missed baker's twine like you wouldn't believe. Now I'm going to show you a trick for this. Like taking away the Whisper White. Ouch. Because there's just some things that linen thread won't do it for. So use a floss threader and get that through like that. Now I actually want both of those pieces in there. So let's do it the other way. I was going more for a loopy thing, but it is what it is. I've kept you long enough for a cute little simple project like this. So we'll just cut our tails on some minis. Full size would probably work too, but minis was what I could reach, so minis is what we're getting. And I really couldn't figure out a nice way to put it on there, so I just put it on the top part of the window. So I hope that you enjoyed that as much as I did, and I hope that you will consider making it. I would love to see your take on the kiss technique. So I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you soon, my crafty friends. Bye.